At exactly 4:37, 18 nautical miles off the Iranian coast, 6 coastal defense batteries made a decision that would last 93 seconds. Missile launch. 6 Noor anti-ship cruise missiles ignited their turbojet engines and skimmed toward the horizon at 540 knots. Their targets had calm in the pre-dawn darkness. The USS Abraham Lincoln. 100,000 tons of American nuclear-powered diplomacy. $13 billion floating in contested waters with a crew of 5,000 sailors. To the Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders watching radar screens in hardened bulkers, it looked like a strategic masterstroke, a message written in fire and steel. They had no idea the message had already been read 48 hours ago by analysts in Bahrain who knew this morning was coming before the missiles were even loaded onto their launch rails. The Noor anti-ship cruise missile tells its own story, a story written in reverse-engineered Chinese blueprints and 30 years of making do with what you have. Iran bought 60 Chinese C-802 missiles in the mid-1990s. Then the United States applied pressure. The contract was canceled, but Tehran had already learned enough. They built their own version, the Noor. Revolutionary when the Soviet Union still existed, today it's a museum piece with a turbojet engine. The missile flies at subsonic speeds, 0.9 Mach, sea skimming altitude of 5 to 7 meters above the water, a 165-kilogram semi-armor piercing warhead designed to crack destroyer hulls. Range extended from the original Chinese design to 130 kilometers. The guidance system uses active radar homing in the terminal phase, monopulse radar technology that was cutting edge when Bill Clinton was president. Here's what makes this weapon fascinating in all the wrong ways. The Talu 4 turbojet engine is an Iranian copy of a French design from the 1970s. When it works, it's reliable. When it doesn't, the missile becomes a very expensive unguided glider. The radar seeker can distinguish between a warship and open ocean, but distinguishing between a carrier hull and the electronic warfare environment of an American strike group requires processing power it simply doesn't possess. It's like trying to pick out a specific conversation in a rock concert while wearing earplugs. American SM-2 missiles travel at Mach 3.5. They use semi-active radar homing with inertial mid-course guidance. They can engage targets at 90 nautical miles. The technological gap isn't measured in years. It's measured in whole generations of warfare doctrine. But here's the thing about desperate men in dying machines. A 165-kilogram warhead detonating against a carrier's hull doesn't care about manufacturing dates. Obsolete doesn't mean harmless. It means the men firing it are already outmatched before they press the button. But here's the thing about desperate regimes operating dying equipment. They don't calculate probability the way rational planners do. Tehran faces international isolation that strangles its economy, domestic pressure that threatens the government's survival, a carrier strike group operating in waters Iran considers its strategic backyard looks like provocation, looks like opportunity. Desperation follows its own terrible logic. Launch the missiles, force America to react, claim victory regardless of outcome. It's a playbook written by nations with more pride than options. The Persian Gulf isn't just water, it's the most watched body of ocean on the planet outside the South China Sea. Every radar station from Bahrain to Kuwait tracks every contact larger than a fishing boat. Space-based infrared satellites detect missile launches 3 seconds after ignition. The American carrier strike group operating in these waters doesn't rely on luck. It relies on a sensor network that makes privacy impossible and surprise extinct. When Iranian crews began fueling the Noor missiles 48 hours earlier, American intelligence logged the activity before the first pumps started flowing. Thermal imaging satellites detected the heat signatures. Signals intelligence intercepted the preparation orders. Human intelligence sources confirmed the target. The Lincoln's Combat Information Center knew the attack was coming before Iranian gunners knew which shift they'd be working. 4:37 and 12 seconds. Detection. The USS Porter, an Arleigh-Burke-class destroyer sailing 19 nautical miles ahead of the carrier, registered the launches instantly. 6 thermal balloons on the Iranian coast. The AN/SPY-1D phased array radar classified them in under 5 seconds. Noor cruise missiles, bearing 270, speed 540 knots, time to threat range 90 seconds. The Aegis combat system processed the threat faster than human nervous systems could register alarm. 6 inbound missiles, flight profile consistent with sea-skimming anti-ship attack, engagement solutions calculated for multiple intercept points, fire control systems armed, the entire kill chain activated before the Iranian missiles traveled their first kilometer. This is what 4 decades of naval warfare evolution looks like. Not faster ships, not bigger guns, faster decisions, better information, the ability to see threats before they become threats. Inside the Porter's Combat Center, the tactical action officer gave the order without hesitation: weapons free, engage all tracks, SM-2 Block 3A. The forward VLS cells erupted to the pre-dawn darkness on pillars of flame. Dual-thrust solid-fuel rockets accelerating to Mach 3.5 in seconds, each missile guided by inertial navigation during mid-course flight, each receiving targeting updates from the Porter's SPY-1D radar every millisecond, each carrying a 62-kilogram blast fragmentation warhead designed to crack incoming threats into falling debris. The Noor missiles never stood a chance. The first intercept happened at 47 nautical miles from the carrier. The proximity fuse detonated 20 feet from the target. Tungsten fragments traveling at 6,000 feet per second shredded the missile's control surfaces and turbojet intake. The Noor tumbled out of controlled flight and augured into the Persian Gulf. Flight time from launch to destruction: 41 seconds. The second intercept happened 11 seconds later. Same geometry, same result. Noor 2 disintegrated in a brief orange fireball that scattered burning fuel across 200 meters of ocean surface. But the Aegis system wasn't finished. The USS Porter had launched 4 SM-2 missiles in rapid succession, 2 per target for the remaining 4 Iranian weapons. Redundancy built into doctrine: never trust a single intercept when you can afford 2. Third intercept at 39 nautical miles, fourth at 37. The Iranian missiles died in sequence, precise, methodical. The kind of systematic destruction that happens when a 40-year-old weapon system meets a platform designed specifically to kill it, like bringing a musket to a gunfight where the other guy has thermal imaging and knows you're coming. 4:39. All hostile tracks terminated. 6 Iranian missiles, 6 intercepts, 0 leakers. The USS Abraham Lincoln never deviated from course, never increased speed, never activated its own defensive systems. The carrier's RIM 116 rolling airframe missiles stayed in their launchers. The Phalanx close-in weapon systems never spun up their barrels. The engagement happened so far from the carrier that most of the crew never knew they were under attack until the general quarters alarm sounded after the missiles were already destroyed. But the Lincoln's response was just beginning. What Iran had started would be thinnest with American precision. 4:42. Strike package authorized. 4 FA-18E Super Hornets from VFA-25 launched from the Lincoln's deck via electromagnetic catapults. Combat loadout: 2 AGN-88E RGAM missiles each, 2 AIM-120D AMRAAMs for self-defense, 2 AIM-9X Sidewinders on the wingtip rails. The strike package climbed to 20,000 feet and turned toward the Iranian coast at Mach 1.4. Flight time to target: 8 minutes. Simultaneously, the USS Porter and USS Gridley prepared their retaliation: Tomahawk cruise missiles, land attack configuration, GPS and terrain matching guidance. 6 missiles total, 3 targeting the coastal missile batteries, 3 targeting the radar installations that had provided fire control for the Iranian launch.
04:47. The Hornets reached their launch point 60 nautical miles from the Iranian coast. The AGM-88E advanced anti-radiation guided missiles dropped from their pylons and ignited. These weapons don't just home on radar emissions, they remember where radars were even after they shut down. The Iranian fire control radar tried to go dark. Too late. The AARGM's inertial navigation guided it to the last known position. Terminal homing reacquired the target. Impact occurred at Mach 2. The 200-pound warheads detonated inside the radar complex. Antennas collapsed. Control vans erupted in secondary explosions. The Iranian radar operators had evacuated 2 minutes earlier. Standard doctrine. When American aircraft appear on your scopes, you run. The complex was destroyed. The casualties were minimal. One technician with shrapnel wounds. Not because America showed mercy, because Iran's radar crews weren't suicidal enough to stay at their posts. 0451, the Tomahawks arrived. 6 BGM-109 cruise missiles approached their targets at 550 miles per hour, flying at 100 feet altitude, following terrain contours with GPS precision measured in meters. 3 missiles struck the coastal battery positions. The launch rails were empty now, the missiles already fired, but the revetments, the reload vehicles, the command bunkers, all turned into smoking craters within 90 seconds. Each Tomahawk carried a 1,000-pound warhead. Each one transformed concrete and steel into rubble and twisted metal. The remaining 3 Tomahawks hit the backup radar sites. Same result: precision devastation. Infrastructure destroyed, personnel largely evacuated. Iran's coastal defense network in that sector reduced to scrap metal and fire. Mission complete. The strike package returned to the Lincoln. All aircraft, all ordnance expended, 0 losses. The carrier resumed its patrol. Course unchanged, speed unchanged, as if 6 missiles hadn't just been fired at it, as if it hadn't just dismantled an entire segment of Iranian coastal defenses in response. The cost analysis wrote itself. Iran expended 6 Noor missiles, estimated production cost $7.2 million total. They revealed their coastal battery positions. They demonstrated their fire control doctrine. They proved their missiles were exactly as ineffective as American intelligence predicted. In exchange, they received $9 million worth of Tomahawks and AGM-88s through their infrastructure, plus the intelligence value of watching their attack get systematically disassembled. Expensive tuition for a lesson they could have learned for free by reading declassified naval doctrine. America expended 4 SM-2 missiles, $9.6 million, 6 Tomahawks, $10.8 million, 4 AARGM missiles, $3.6 million. Total cost, roughly $24 million. Return on investment, complete destruction of Iranian coastal threat in that sector without risking a single sailor, plus the strategic message carved in precision strikes. You fire at us, you lose the ability to fire again. But the real cost wasn't financial, it was strategic. Tehran had wanted to demonstrate strength, show their domestic audience that Iran could challenge American naval power in its own territorial waters. What they actually demonstrated was that challenging a carrier strike group with 1990s technology is like challenging a chess computer while announcing your moves 3 rounds in advance. Technically possible, strategically pointless, tactically suicidal. The Persian Gulf returned to its tense calm. No further Iranian launches, no escalation beyond the surgical retaliation. The Lincoln sailed south toward the Strait of Hormuz. Her air wing conducted scheduled training missions that afternoon. Her crew served dinner at normal hours. Business as usual for a strike group that handles existential threats before breakfast and calls it a Tuesday. Within 72 hours, Iranian state media released heavily edited footage claiming their missiles had forced the American carrier to retreat. The Lincoln's navigation logs told a different story. 0 course deviations, 0 speed changes. The carrier had maintained a perfectly straight line throughout the engagement, treating 6 incoming cruise missiles with the same concern most people reserve for aggressive pigeons at a park bench. Some lessons are taught with words, some with sanctions. This one was taught with SM-2 missiles traveling at Mach 3.5 and Tomahawks that turned launch sites into archaeology. For Iran's Revolutionary Guard, the message arrived loud and clear. Fire at American carriers. Watch your coastal defenses become fond memories. The math was simple. The outcome was never in doubt.